So we're going to start on our backs today. Just bend our knees, place our feet on our mats out of the way up by our butts. And then think about tucking that tail, flattening out all along our spine, feeling our back pressing into our mats. And then bringing our hands to our bellies, closing our eyes and taking a few deep breaths in through our nose. Feel that belly expand, and then out through our mouths. The ribs open up as we inhale. Our body relaxes as we exhale. And then we'll bring our feet together, open up our knees nice and wide. Let gravity help those knees work down toward the ground. Slowly, let's bring those knees back together, hugging them in tight towards our bodies. Roll up into our little ball here. And then we'll release the left leg, holding tightly to that right shin, hugging it into our chest, maybe out toward the armpit a little bit. Lengthen in that left leg, nice and long. Relax the shoulders and the head. Or wind releasing pose. Insert giggle here. Now we'll release that right leg, guide it across our body for a little spinal twist. Maybe we start to feel the outer hip open up a little bit, our backs release. Good, and now our left hand will come out to the side. Our right hand is gonna come over like we want to clap. Bring our hands together, we'll roll over onto that side. Our knee is still bent, and then like an archer, we're gonna pull back that right arm across our body, all the way out to the side, and then back over, meet the left hand. Exhale, pull that arm back across, little twist. And then inhale, we'll come back over, meet the left hand. Exhale. Open up those shoulders. And then inhale, back over. Let's do that one more time. Exhale. Stay here for 2 breaths in that little twist again. And then we'll slowly bring that right knee back to the center, hug it into our chest again. And then we'll lift that right foot up to the sky, flexing the foot so that the heel is reaching up toward the sky. Our hands can find behind the thigh or the knee, maybe the calf, and we're just gently encouraging the leg to come towards us, not forcing it. We don't want to hurt ourselves here. And now with this left leg, we're just going to do like a little scissor kick. Lift it up, and then exhale, lower it back down. Inhale up, exhale down. All the while, keep encouraging this right leg. And then inhale, both legs reach up to the sky, flexing both feet, waterfall pose here. And then bend the knees, both knees come in towards our chest. Roll up into our egg. We'll move on over to the other side. So we'll release that right leg down to our mats, hugging that left shin in to our chest. Keep lengthening in this right leg. It's not just dead hanging out, being a freeloader. It's actually working as well. Lengthening in that right leg, contracting that left all the way into our chest. As we breathe, we should feel our tummy press into that left thigh. And then we'll release that left leg, guide it across our body for our twist. Visualizing our breath moving up and down our spine, touching all of those muscles, letting them relax into the twist. And then we'll open up both hands nice and wide, and we'll take that left hand, bring it on over, touch our right. And then again, with our breath, exhale, pulling that elbow back, reaching out to the side. And then inhale, coming back. Exhale, little twist. And inhale back, bringing the hands together. opening those shoulders on that exhale. And then returning back. Let's pull that left arm out one more time. We'll stay here for a couple breaths. And then we'll come back to the center, hug that knee into our bodies. And then we'll lift that leg all the way up toward the sky, flexing the foot, touching behind the thigh or the knee. Give it a little encouragement. And then the right leg will inhale, lift it up. And then exhale, lower down. All the while keeping this left leg at least in this plane, if not encouraging it closer. We don't want it to go away from us as we do this. And inhale, let's bring that right leg up, both legs reaching high toward the sky. And then we'll bend the knees, roll up into our egg. And then we'll just bring our hands to the back of our thighs and begin to rock and roll until we can come all the way up to seated. Good. Give ourselves a little wiggle here, and we'll swing those legs around and come onto our hands and our knees. Fingers are wide, underneath of our shoulders. Knees are underneath of our hips. Good. Let's tuck those toes. So we have nice, active, strong toes. Press into the fingers. Open up those shoulders behind us. Feel those shoulder blades. Have a lot of space. Breathe into that tummy. And then just barely lift the knees up off of the floor. And then lower those knees back down. Keep that core strong. Inhale, lift the knees just a little bit. And exhale, we'll lower them down. Good. Third time's a charm. Inhale, lift those knees. We're strong. We're sturdy. We're breathing. And exhale, lower those buddies down. We can soften the feet behind us. Let's find our child's pose. Oh, lengthen those arms out in front of us. Hips are back, chests are low. And we'll inhale, come up to our little plank. So our shoulders will come over the hands. Hips will come forward. Chests are proud. Looking forward. Good. And then hinging only at the hips. Pressing back, keeping a nice flat back. As we bring those hips back toward the heels, inhale, coming forward, tuck the tail, lift the heart, strong shoulders, good. Exhale, Long spine as we press those hips back. Good. One more time. Inhale. We'll come forward to that little plank. And now this time we'll lower ourselves down. Hands are underneath of our shoulders here. We'll bring, instead of the hands under the shoulders, we'll bring those elbows underneath, pressing the hands and the forearms into our mat. And as we inhale, we'll scoop the chest forward and then up for Sphinx. And then lower our chest back down. Hands underneath of our shoulders. Let's press all the way back to child's pose. Good. We'll inhale up to tabletop. We'll bring that right leg forward into our little lunge. To the outside of that right pinky. Left foot is soft behind us. Tilting that pelvis, lengthening in the spine. And then right here, we'll do with this right leg is we'll open up the knee and then we'll bring it back in toward the shoulder. So we're just doing like a little butterfly flap with that right knee out to the side and then bringing it on back. Exhale, open it up. Inhale, bring it back in. Good. Exhale, open it up. Inhale back in. This time we'll exhale, open that knee up nice and wide. These left fingers will point out to the left. Right hand will come to that thigh. Inhale, we'll lengthen, and exhale, we'll begin to turn and look over the right shoulder. And then we'll slowly come on back to that lunge. Good. And then we'll step back all the way to our child's pose. Good. Let's inhale up to our little plank. Tuck the tail. Like we want our tailbone to point all the way to our feet. And then we'll exhale, lower down. We'll bring those elbows underneath of our shoulders again. Fingers are wide. Think about scooping the chest forward and then up as we come up into Sphinx. And then we'll lower back down. Hands can find their spot underneath of our shoulders. Press back. Child's pose. And we'll go over to the other side. So inhale up to our tabletop. Left leg will come forward. Find our little lunge. Wiggle our way into it. Always a big fan of just like moving around, finding where your body needs to be, because it's going to be different every single day. And once we get our wiggles in, lengthen in that spine, sink those hips down, lift the heart. And then from here, we'll just do our little butterfly flap. So as we exhale, open up that left leg out to the side. And then inhale will come and maybe give it a little squeeze. And then exhale down, moving deliberately at whatever pace we need. Inhale back up to our arm, and then exhale one more time. Open that buddy up, and then the right fingers will point off to the right just a little bit. Our left hand can find the thigh. We lengthen, and then we begin to twist and turn to look over that left shoulder. Right hip will begin to sink down toward our mat. And then we can slowly come back to our little lunge. Good. Stepping back all the way to child's pose. Let's take a couple of breaths here. Give everything a bit of a rest. Good. Fingers are wide, pressing into our mats. We'll inhale up to our little plank. Good. Exhale, we'll lower down. And now from here, elbows will come underneath of the shoulders again. We'll come forward with the chest, scooping our way up into Sphinx. If we would like, we can begin to press just a little bit more into those hands, angle them out toward the corners of the room, begin to lift up a little bit higher into more of like a seal stretch. If we get to a spot that we don't like, we come back. One more breath. Keep holding that chest and spine forward, and then exhale, we'll lower down. Beautiful job. Hands underneath of our shoulders. Press back. Big wide knees for a child's pose. Toes come together, knees come out wide. Shoulders and chest can sink down in toward the mat. We can even release our head and just let it rest on our mat. And then keeping our hips over our heels, we'll walk our hands over to one side. Just stay low. We open up and lengthen in that side body. And then we'll come back to the center. And then we'll walk around to the other side. Just crawl the fingers out a little bit further with our breath. Good, and let's come back to the center. Let's keep those toes pointing or touching, pointing towards each other, and we'll walk those hands backwards underneath of our shoulders. Knees are wide. Like I said, toes are touching behind us. And then we'll just slowly come forward with those hips. We can walk the hands forward just a little bit. We'll come into like a little frog here. Lengthen in the spine, much like we did in our lunge. We want to lengthen, tuck the tail, proud chest. And then exhale, we can hinge back. And inhale, come forward. Moving with purpose and with care. Good. Let's do one more. And then we'll come back. And we can start to bring those knees in toward each other. Give the hips a bit of a break here. And round in the spine. Good. Arms around in front of us. We'll tuck our toes underneath of our butts right here. Open up the feet a little bit. And then pressing into those hands and feet, we'll lift our butts up nice and high for downward facing dog. Pedal the feet if we would like. Wiggle our tail. Yeah, and then let's lift up that right leg. We're going to bring it into our chest, hover forward, and then we'll place the knee right behind that right wrist, flexing the foot here to help protect our knee. Then we'll begin to lower down. We'll soften that left leg behind us. And then think about this left hip. We want it to come forward so that both of our hips are facing in the same direction, which will get those glutes a little bit deeper. After a couple of breaths, if we would like, we can definitely walk our hands forward and lower down onto our elbows or all the way down into a fold. We find where we're at today. And we'll inhale here, lengthen in that spine, wherever we're at, whether we're on our hands or our elbows, folded forward. We're just going to begin to walk our hands around over to the left, keeping everything else where it is, just moving our top half, much like we did in our child's pose a little bit ago. And we'll slowly come back to the center. If we're folded, we'll come up to our hands. Take a breath here. And then we'll bend that left knee, reach back with our left hand, try and find the toes or the ankles, and bring the heel in towards our butt. And again, keep thinking about this left hip. It's not going to get lazy just because we're focusing on our quad. Beautiful. And then gently, without whacking your foot onto the ground, lowering it down. We'll tuck that left toe, press into our hands, and we'll come all the way back up to our downward facing dog. Bend the knees, lengthen in the spine. Give ourselves our post pigeon wiggle. And then when we're ready, we'll lift up that left leg back behind us, nice and long. And then we'll bring it into our chest. On forward, lower the knee behind that left wrist. Flex the foot. And then soften the right leg back behind us. Aiming both hips toward the top of our mat or the wall in front of us. We can gradually work our way down into whatever variation of this pose we'd like to settle into today. On our elbows, all the way down folded. And then on our next inhale, we'll lengthen in the spine. Wherever we're at, we'll just walk those hands over to the right, keeping the hips pointed toward the top of our mat. And maybe we feel a little bit deeper stretch in that outer hip. Get into the glute a little bit more. Open up in that side body, make ourselves taller. And then we'll slowly come back to the center. And up to our hands. And then from here, we'll bend that right knee. Bring our hand back to find those toes. Pull that right hip forward. and the heel in towards our butt. Depending on our grip, we can get a nice shoulder stretch here. And then gently releasing that foot. Tuck the toe behind us. We'll step back for downward facing dog. One more time. Give it a little wiggle. Shake those legs out. And then we'll begin to walk those feet forward, up towards our hands, into a forward fold here. If we need to, we bend the knees. Let those arms just hang, soften in the shoulders and in the neck. Then we'll release our hands. Open up our feet, heel toe, maybe a little bit wider than our hips. Toes will point out to the corners, and then we'll begin to lower our butts down for a malasana squat, lowering down nice and low with those hips. If this is tough for us, we can always use a block underneath of our butts, or we can go up against the wall. Is very, very helpful. And we'll pull those shoulders back, lift the heart. Elbows can come in between our knees, palms come together at our hearts, creating a lovely dynamic tension to balance out some of the softness. Good, and then we'll just lower those hands down to the mat. We can walk them forward so that our knees can find our mat. We'll swish the feet over to one side and lower down. Find ourselves in a comfortable seated position. Feet are out in front of us. We can wiggle those toes a little bit if we would like. And now from here, one of my favorite stretches, I'm going to take my right leg and I'm going to tuck it and bring that knee out in front of us. So not out to the side, bringing out in front of us. And then the left leg is going to cross right over the top. So our goal is to stack the knees, one on top of the other. The feet go off in opposite directions. We flex the feet. And then this top hip, the left hip, we want to direct it using our mind power to encourage it to come down toward the mat, somewhere in that general direction. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe we put a little towel or we roll up our mat or something underneath of it if we need to. Take a few breaths here. Let things settle a little bit. Keep directing that left hip down toward our mat. Now let's bring our arms back behind us. Now to grasp our elbows, opposite elbows behind us. We'll pull the shoulders back, lift the heart. I won't make you do like full-on cow face pose because that hurts. We don't do things that hurt. And then if we're happy here, we stay here. Or if we're trying to be happy here, this is where we stay. If we would like, we can also do a little fold forward. Think of that left hip lowering down. come back up from our fold if that's what we were doing. Can release those arms. Give them a little shake. One more breath here. Just one more. Little cheer for that hip to come down a little bit lower. And then our hands will come back behind us. Unwind those legs. Whew. And then we can just do little windshield wipers if we'd like. Oof. And you can groan and moan if you need. But guess what? We're not done. We have to do the other side. I heard some groans over here. All right, tucking that left knee or the left foot in. Knee is out in front of us. Right knee comes over the top. And now we're thinking of this right hip working down toward the mat. We can even just give it a little bit of a touch. Feel it moving. Even those little teeny tiny millimeters is progress. Don't forget that. Progress is progress, no matter how big or small. Big breaths. And then let's bring those arms back behind us. If we can remember which direction we crossed, maybe we can see if we can cross the other direction. It's not that big of a deal if we can't remember, or if it doesn't work that great for us. We're just trying to open up our chest. Get those shoulders going. Keep breathing. You grit your teeth, it still looks like you're smiling. So. And again, if you would like, you can fold forward, even just a little bit. Focusing on that breath, on that right hip. One more breath. And we can come on up. We'll release those arms. Give ourselves a little bit of a wiggle. And then the hands can come back. Unwind those legs. Moan and groan. Good. And then we'll bend those knees, bring them into our chest. Roll back onto our backs. Into our little egg here. Good. Let's open up those knees nice and wide. Elbows will come to the inside of the knees. Hands will come to the outside of the feet. We'll relax our tail and our shoulders down into our mats. We'll find ourselves in dead bug. Feel those big, deep inhales pressing into our thighs. We thank gravity for helping us out today. And then we'll release the feet up to the sky. Hands will reach up as well. We'll give our fingers and our toes a wiggle. We'll roll around in our ankles and in our wrists for Krakalasana. And then we'll slowly lower them down to our mats. Hands above our head, feet below our hips, making ourselves as long as we can. And one more big exhale. We can release everything. Find ourselves in a comfortable position for Shavasana. We close our eyes. We soften our jaw. And we use these next few breaths to give ourselves permission to just be still. Let our mind wander. Let our bodies relax and heal. And we'll deepen our breath. Bring gentle movement into our fingers and our toes. We slowly come back into our space. Bring our knees in toward our chest and roll up into our little ball. And we'll rock on over to one side and then help ourselves up to seated. Our eyes are closed and we rise up completely brand new. Shavasana is corpse pose, and we are symbolically dying and then being reborn. So everything that has happened in the past is no longer a thing for us. We are moving forward and we have a new present. Let's bring our hands together at our hearts. Bow our heads and give thanks to us for all of the gifts that we just received. And as always, your dedication to yourselves and your presence is all of the gift that I need today. I thank you so, so much for joining me, for allowing me to help you through your practice today. I wish you all a very, very happy and joyful remainder of your day. The light in the divine in me recognizes and respects the light in the divine in each of you. And when we are together, whether physically or virtually, we are one. Namaste.